Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, it's one of the biggest stories in the United States right now. It's also a huge local story here in Massachusetts. It's just when you thought things couldn't get more insane. Well, here we are. So, San Francisco is usually the citadel, the cradle of moonbat insanity. Well, move aside San Francisco. Hello, Worcester, Massachusetts. This is now what the city council, in a 9-2 vote, stunning vote, have now agreed to. They have now agreed to a resolution, a petition, filed by the LGBTQ plus community that now says Massachusetts' second largest municipality, Worcester, is now a sanctuary city for people who are transgender, people who are non-binary, people who are have gender diversity. And you may say, Jeff, what the hell does that mean? We're not talking now sanctuary cities for illegal aliens. This is now a sanctuary city for transgendered and bisexuals. Transgendered people, non-binary people, bisexuals, transsexuals. What are they getting sanctuary from? According to the nut jobs, and oh man, you got to see them yesterday. When they showed up at that meeting, at the city council meeting in Worcester, one after another. It was like an insane asylum. They claim that in America, there is now a Nazi fascist, with a straight face, a Nazi fascist threat from Donald Trump. That transgendered people need special harbor, special protections, a special haven, because they are going to be killed and murdered by Trump and the Trump regime. And so they now say that Trump's executive order, in which the government recognizes only two biological sexes, male and female, this is putting the lives of people who are non-binary, transgendered, people in the LGBTQ plus community, that these people now, their lives are at stake. They are now going to be the victim of massive persecution, harassment, and discrimination. And they say that furthermore, Trump's executive order, barring men from competing in women's sports, entering women's bathrooms, entering women's locker rooms or showers, also systematically discriminates against them, and they now fear for their lives, they fear for their civil liberties, they fear for their very safety and very future. And so, under this sanctuary city status that Worcester is now unilaterally proclaiming, they will not comply with Trump's executive orders. They will not, and furthermore, they are not going to comply with Trump's ban on gender reassignment surgery or gender reassignment care, i.e. cross-sex hormones, puberty blockers, for children and teenagers. That in Worcester, if you want to mutilate a child's genitals in the name of a sex change operation, you can do it. If you want to give a 10, 11, 12-year-old child puberty blockers, which, by the way, destroys their fertility permanently, they cannot have children, it will be allowed in Worcester. If you want to allow cross-sex hormones or other gender reassignment or gender transition care, it will be allowed in Worcester, even though it is against the law, even though it is against federal policy, even though it is against Trump's executive order. This is now what it means. Worcester now is going to become a sanctuary for transgendered people all over the country to flock to Worcester. and essentially to conduct all kinds of heinous, horrific procedures that are banned or outlawed in the rest of the country. I want you to listen now. I'm telling you, you're going to say, Jeff, this can't be true. Okay. This is straight now from the Boston Herald. At the meeting in which the town of Worcester, Massachusetts, now voted to become a sanctuary city for transgender and gender diverse people, they now say that LGBTQ plus members are literally under attack in President Trump's America. And so, one individual wearing a red hat, clearly when you look at the video, a biological male, maybe slap some lipstick on, but this is clearly a man. Huge Adam's apple, bigger Adam's apple than I have. This is a clear biological male. Says that he represents both the B and the T in the trans and the LGBTQ community. He's both bisexual and transgendered. And that he feels offended when people refer to him as sir. That he is a ma'am, he wants to be referred to as ma'am, and that if he is not referred to as a ma'am, that this is a fundamental violent assault on his emotional psyche, on his sense of himself, on his well-being. It is a violation of his human right. Furthermore, he says that, quote, people refer to me as sir when I prefer to be referred to as ma'am. I speak as someone who is afraid to use public toilets. I speak as someone who is a member of this community and is a queer person. And so he went on to say that he wants the city to protect him from Trump, from the federal government, from these executive orders, and that he wants now to be permanently recognized as ma'am, both in public and in private, and that if not, then that there should be law enforcement action taken against anyone who misgenders him. This is just a taste of what you heard yesterday. Here's another one. This is it's a blue, almost purple hair person dressed in drag at the Worcester City Council meeting saying she's afraid of Trump. By the way, most of them have different names. You're going to say, well, Jeff, what do you mean? Well, that's the other thing. They walk up and they say they have a private name. I'll just say Joe Smith. But then they have a public name. Like, Jolina Valenti. So they have both a private name and a public persona and public name. And what you address them as depends on what mood they're in. It's an insane asylum. That's what the Worcester City Council descended into. That's what they've now turned the entire city into. This is a blue hair woman dressed completely in drag saying that she's afraid for her life. Trump and the Nazis are coming for her. Roll cut 28, Mike.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
So they're basically threatening violence. In other words, there wasn't much of a counter argument to these people. The argument that was made, and it wasn't much of an argument, but, well, we're going to lose our federal funding. So we're afraid of Trump. We're afraid that Trump's going to cut off federal funding if we make ourselves into a sanctuary city, not for illegals, but for transgendered, non-binary, gender diverse people. Okay? So their argument is, well, if you're afraid that Trump is going to cut federal funding, you better be really afraid of us. And in other words, you make this a sanctuary city for transgendered people, or else we're going to make all of your lives miserable. There was another one. clearly disturbed. Trans activist in a leather jacket. And apparently this person is petrified for their life, forgive me, because they live in Trump's America, and they're now convinced that Trump has put a bounty on their head. Roll cut 28A, Mike.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here.
Please.
I'm sorry. Am I taking too long pleading for my life?
Really, the person is saying that Trump's going to kill him. That this is a Nazi administration, a Nazi state, and that trans people are now the Jews of this new Reich that Trump is imposing. And so they need to create a sanctuary city for transgendered people in order to literally save their lives. Now, let me just say this. It was a 9-2 vote to now affirm Worcester as a quote-unquote sanctuary city. The 9 who voted for this should be ashamed of themselves. This was the act of cowards. This was the act of moral reprobates. This was the act of people who have now surrendered to absolute lunatics and whack jobs. And Worcester is going to rue the day. WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. So, again, this is a national, frankly, an international story. It is one of the biggest stories in the world right now. It's also a huge local story. The Worcester City Council, in a stunning vote, 9-2, has now approved a petition declaring Worcester, Massachusetts, which for those of you who don't live in Mass, is the second biggest city, obviously after Boston, in the People's Republic of Massachusetts, now, for the first time ever, as a sanctuary for quote-unquote transgender and gender diverse people. And this decision was made after about 3 hours of a public comment session in which it was one moonbat after another moonbat after another moonbat, where with a straight face, we're arguing that the Trump administration is essentially now the Fourth Reich. Trump is Hitler. We are living under a Nazi dictatorship, and that the transgendered community, the non-binary community, the LGBTQ plus community are now, I swear to you, the Jews of the Fourth Reich. That the Jews were sent to the gas ovens under Hitler. Now it's going to be transgendered people who are going to be exterminated and annihilated under Trump. They need to be given now sanctuary status. They need to be given special protections. And so, as one of them said, this guy called Michael Kingsley, let us remember that the Nazis burned books on gender sciences first, yelling and screaming. Now the administration has villainized and marginalized migrant workers, trans, LGBT people, and even special needs. I had no idea Trump apparently was targeting special needs, but apparently they're saying yes, even special needs. Denying life-saving and affirming care, it stops now. If we don't stand up for others now, there won't be anybody left to stand up for us. In other words, they're all going to get wiped out. Now, look, I'm telling you right now, okay, I'm telling you, these people are seriously mentally ill. Okay, This is indoctrination, hysteria, paranoia. I'm sorry, insanity. There's just no other word. The inmates are running the asylum. And this is now what they're going to inflict upon the people of Worcester. And I'm telling you, this is going to spread like a cancer. It's going to go to Boston. It's going to go to New York. It's going to go to Chicago. It's going to go to Portland. It's going to go to Seattle. It's going to go to LA. It's definitely going to San Francisco. San Francisco is looking at this and saying, oh, how the hell did Worcester beat us to this? Hey, forget sanctuary cities for illegals. We got to do sanctuary cities now for transgender people. They are now going to openly defy and break the law. And in particular, okay, since it's all about the children, one of Trump's key executive orders is that it bans sex change operations, what they call gender reassignment surgery, which involves mutilation, genital mutilation. You have to cut off the private parts of a boy to transition that boy to a girl, or cut off the private parts of a girl to transition the girl to a boy. So we're talking now about gender mutilation, plus puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, which lead, by the way, to permanent infertility. And not just infertility. These children, when they grow up, because of these treatments, forgive me, I know it's early and it's a family show, but I got to say it, will never be able to enjoy personal sexual intimacy again. Do you understand? This is what they're inflicting. Trump has banned this for teenagers and children 19 years old and younger. Why? Because this is clear child abuse. In fact, this is barbarism. Worcester now says that they're going to ignore the law, ignore Trump's executive order, and if you want to send your kid to be butchered or to have these chemicals pumped into them or to have these cross hormones or puberty blockers injected into them, then Worcester will deliberately turn a blind eye and allow it to happen in their medical centers, in their hospitals, in their healthcare units. Now, I'm telling you that Trump and Pam Bondi need to send a message to Worcester loud and clear. Rescind this resolution now. Forget cutting your federal funding. That's the least of it. We're going to start hauling people off to jail. We are not going to sacrifice our children to this kind of savagery that the transgender people want to inflict. Now, we have to make a decision. Are we going to allow our society to be run by a bunch of lunatics and whack jobs? And you watch these people, you listen to these people. They are clearly insane. They are not well in the head. Are we going to allow people who are utterly insane? And by the way, how is Worcester now even going to function? You have to recognize multiple names for these people. You have to recognize multiple identities for these people. Many of these people are saying, I kid you not, I'm a man in the morning, a woman in the afternoon, and a they in the evening. So on the driver's license, how do we recognize you? In public, how do we recognize you? This is and this sanctuary status is going to attract even more of these whack jobs to Worcester. It's going to be like a magnet, the way sanctuary cities for illegals were magnets for illegals. Does Worcester need this? Does Worcester want this? The members of the city council should be utterly ashamed of themselves. It's time for Maura Healey to step in. She won't. But it's time for Pam Bondi and Trump to step in. Agree, disagree, all of your calls next. 32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you, Kuhner Country, do you support the decision now by the Moonbats on the Worcester City Council? It was a 9-2 vote to turn Worcester into the country's first, this is Worcester, Massachusetts, I swear to you, into the country's first transgender sanctuary city. The first sanctuary city for transgendered people and so-called non-binary people. That's what recently happened in Worcester just a couple nights ago. and it's already having massive national and even international ramifications. Many of you are emailing the Kuhner man, texting the Kuhner man, saying, Jeff, well, concretely, what does this mean? In terms of, well, number one, here's exactly what it means. That Worcester is going to allow this barbaric gender reassignment or reaffirming care and surgeries to happen and continue for teenagers and children under the age of 19. So this is going to hurt a lot of children. But transgendered people now are going to be teaching in classrooms. They're going to be in public libraries. They, in fact, the part of the resolution stresses they have to be given housing. They have to be given jobs. They have to be given employment. In other words, it's going to really make transgender issues front and center across all of Worcester. And it's going to lead to many more transgendered people obviously coming to Worcester, because Worcester now is welcoming them and saying we're a sanctuary for all of you, for the entire country. Now, you tell me if you think this is good for the people of Worcester. I don't. I memean, this is going to be an unmitigated disaster. That city is going to be turned into a freak show. And to give you an example, and let me play one more cut because I want to go to the phone lines. This is a biological female. Okay, there's no other way to put it. It's a girl. Okay, it's a young woman, whatever, teenager, someone in their early 20s, with a red beard and glitter all over that person's face. It's I don't know. It's weird. Okay. The whole thing is it's like someone dressed in drag, but with a red beard and glitter all over their face. And this person is saying that they were afraid to leave their home because they're going to get murdered in Trump's America. Like, really, they're selling the city council that Trump has put Gestapo agents on the street that are going and looking for transgendered people, and they're either abducting them and sending them to death camps, or they're shooting them or clubbing them or killing them. So this woman is petrified. They even have left her house, but she has to come to speak, because if they're not given sanctuary status, they're going to end up like the Jews under Hitler. Roll cut 28B, Mike.
I do not want to be here. It's my day off. I do not want to be in your DMs. I do not want to be in your email inboxes. I do not want my creativity writing diss tracks like Kendrick. I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me. I want you to listen to me.
This is who you're surrendering your city to. Now, let me tell you right now, when you have mentally ill people, when you have the inmates running the asylum, and in this case, it's not an expression, it's literally the truth, you're going to be in big trouble. I'm telling you, you're going down. Worcester is going to go down over this. And why is this such an important issue? This is the road to totalitarianism. Because I want you to think about this, all right? If it's sunny outside, as an example, and I'm telling you that it's been dark and cloudy all day, and I get you to agree with me that it's not sunny. In other words, you're not going to believe what your senses are telling you, what your eyes are telling you, what you've experienced, what you've known, but the very opposite. Then I can completely control and manipulate your mind. That's the heart of the transgender agenda. That's why it's being pushed so hard in schools. That's why it's being pushed so hard in the movies, in popular culture, in academia, in entertainment, in society at large. And by the way, through USAID, all over the world. It's at the heart of the New World Order. Because if I can convince you that a man is a woman and a woman is a man, or a male is a female, and a female is a male. And by the way, that chromosomes don't matter. That biological sex doesn't matter. That biological reality doesn't matter. What matters is what I tell you. And I threaten you. and I browbeat you, and I psychologically, emotionally, politically terrorize you to accept, then this is 1984. And what Worcester has now done is they have now surrendered to the lunatic left. So you mark my words. There's going to be a drag queen as the mayor of Worcester soon. Forget Drag Time Story Hour. It's going to be Drag Time City. And you're going to see this now replicated in other cities across the country if we don't nip this in the bud. So, do I think transgender... First of all, nobody should have a sanctuary status, period. There should be no sanctuary cities for anything. But do I think transgendered people or non-binary people... or, by the way, when they say non-binary, let me tell you what they're saying. They're saying that they're not men or women. They're not female or male. Well, what are you? I don't know. A little bit of both, neither, a mix, multiple... Well, what other gender are you? Well, I don't know. I'm a space alien. Really, we're now going down the road to pure moral social anarchy. And that the Worcester City Council capitulated just like this? It took what? 1 3-hour session? And that's how quickly they waved the white flag of surrender? Pathetic. Pathetic. And it's not, mark my words, this is not stopping with transgendered or so-called non-binary. People are going to claim to be cats. They're going to accept them as cats. People are going to claim to be dogs. They're going to go, woof, woof, I want you to bark, woof, woof. And you're going to stand there like an idiot and bark. Like, this is already starting to happen. So we're normalizing insanity and we're normalizing mental illness. And by the way, and the people of Worcester, I feel sorry for them. You own property or, you pay property taxes. You're paying for all this. You're paying for all this. 617-266-6868. So let me ask you, I can't believe I'm having to ask this question. Do you support sanctuary cities for transgendered people and non-binary and gender diverse people? Yes or no? 617-266-6868. Okay, Dave in Revere. You're going to kick us off, Dave. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, I've heard it all. Jeff, they have P-Town. Can't they just go to P-Town and leave everybody else the way? That's what P-Town's for, Jeff. No, what's that?
This is a new world, Dave. It's a freak show. That's what they're going. Worcester is now being turned into a freak show.
The whole thing about this they're forgetting Genesis, Jeff. They're forgetting Genesis chapter 2. And that's the biggest thing about this whole thing. They don't want to believe in nothing. So they're going to say, oh, well, we could be a girl. We could be a guy. I'm like, go away. Jeff, it's insanity. And we already got a drag queen in the up in the State House now. We don't need no more drag queens in charge of things. Well, you know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you. Look, and Dave, that's why Maura Healey is not going to say anything. These are ultimately her people, and she's going to allow this to fester and go on and on and on. And I'm sorry, but this is up to the people of Worcester. I mean, it's their town. It's their city. If you want to allow your city to be hijacked, just please, to everybody out there, it's all over social media. Look at the people who are speaking. Look at the people now who are in control of the city and of policy in the city. I can't describe it. Blue hair, purple hair, dressed in drag. You should see the list they walk up and they list the illnesses that they have. I got this condition, that condition, this condition, that. And all I'm thinking is, you need help. You need serious mental health help. And instead, they're running the city. Great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Now, what have I been saying now for the last couple of years, huh? I've been saying it, and I was like, come on, Jeff, you're exaggerating. I said, the People's Republic of Massachusetts and California, okay, California, it's like a political nuclear arms race. Who's going to be crazier? We're always trying to out moonbat one another. Well, now we've got the edge. Worcester passed a resolution through the city council, those losers, 9-2, declaring it a quote-unquote sanctuary city for transgendered people and non-binary individuals. Let me just give you one more taste. This is a trans activist, the one that believes that, Trump is literally, Trump is a Nazi, Trump is Hitler, and that they're going to hunt down LGBTQ people on the street and kill them. You have to declare sanctuary city status now, or else it's all over. Roll cut 28C, Mike.
Can you look at me and tell me how many of my friends need to die before you do anything?
Please wrap up.
Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Pathetic.
We're all done. Come on.
There you go. That's who you've ceded the city to. There. I'm telling you, that's what you've ceded the city to. Huh? We, you. Okay, very quickly. Lines are loaded. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so let me just, the text line is burning up. I mean, people are like, Jeff. Jeff, I thought I saw it all. Yeah, well, you didn't see this, huh? All right, this is from, you can text us 70470. This is from 508. Jeff, there is no way Maura Healey, the governor, is coming to jump in and do anything about this. These are her people. This is an extension of her lifestyle. She has sympathy for these people. Oh, I know. That's why I'm saying it's got to be Pam Bondi, the Attorney General in the Trump administration. Healey's going to if Healey had her way, she wants Boston to be a sanctuary city for transgendered people. She wants every city, every town in Massachusetts, hell, the whole country to be a sanctuary city for so-called transgendered people. 617, Jeff, do you remember when the Democrats said J.D. Vance was weird and that Trump was weird? And anyone who had anything to do with the Trump administration was weird. The world of Democrats is upside down. And the Worcester City Council listened to all of this insanity and said, come on down. To hell with science and biology, Jeff. This is mental illness on display. And we are now expected to accept their delusion. I'm not going to accept it over my dead body. And that's not just for me. That's for my wife. That's for my children. And that's for my country. No way in hell am I surrendering my country to those lunatics. Oh, no way. You want to turn Worcester into a freak show? Okay, fine. That's your problem. But don't try this in Rentham. And don't try this in my town. Or in other towns, because I'm telling you, we're not going to accept it. Agree, disagree. Jim in Wilmington. Thanks for holding, Jim, and welcome.
Jeff.
Jim.
So listen. Hi, Jeff. I just wanted to, say that I can't believe what's going on. The state's crazy. But anyway, I have no problems with whatever people want to do in their home, in their bedroom. But, we shouldn't be making special things for everybody. I was recently, last year in the summer, my wife and myself at the beach on the Cape. And there were 3 trans together, 2 females into males and a male that was wearing a bikini. He had a beard. It was really strange. They're making out on the beach, and everybody's just astonished. And he went into the water with one female that's trans to a male, and they were acting very inappropriately. She came out, the other girl went in, and they did the same thing. We watched the show for like 45 minutes, and they got out of the water finally, and they left. And people were ready to say something. But it's all craziness.
Well, Jim, look, it's moral perversion. It's sin, but I mean, it's moral perversion. It's psychological perversion, and it's emotional perversion. And look, I'm with you, Jim. What people do in their own home behind closed doors, that's their business. I don't care. I don't care. But when you start forcing me, and that's what they're doing, you start forcing me to not just accept lifestyles, but to literally deny reality. When you start forcing me to accept your insanity, your delusion, like, for example, if you're trying to tell me that the sky is black or the sky is purple, or it's not blue, and I have to accept it, or else I'm a bigot, or else, I should lose my job, or, I should be banished from life or from the public square. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to accept your insanity. I'm not. 2 + 2 does not equal 5. Now, you can yell it, you can scream it, you can threaten it, you can berate it, you can stand there and cry like these idiots, and I'm dying and I'm not going to die. Buddy, you're not dying. Nobody's shooting you. Nobody's going after the trans community. You're crazy. Do you understand that? You're nuts. You need mental help. I don't know if you're schizophrenic. I don't know if you have paranoid schizophrenia. I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist, but you are crazy. Do you understand? That's what we have to start telling these people. I'm sorry, you need help. Here's a good psychiatrist. Next. You again. You too. Okay, you here. It's a good psychiatrist. Next. But we just sit by and allow these people to run roughshod all over us. And now they've basically occupied the second biggest city in Massachusetts. They're running the government. They're running the schools now. They're going to run the public institutions. And you think it's bad when you and your wife go to the beach. You watch them now in Worcester. You watch what's going to happen at the parks in Worcester in front of your kids at school. And if you say anything now, you are discriminating against them. Because they have, quote, sanctuary status, quote unquote. And that's why I said the city council is going to rue the day. And the most frightening thing of all, Jim, really, is that you have these crazy moonbats on that city council who are nodding their head up and down like in agreement when these whack jobs, these nutbags are coming up and saying, Trump is hunting us down. What? Trump is killing trans people on the streets. He's rounding us up into death camps. What death camp? Who's rounding who up? Who's being shot? Who's being killed? This is a delusion. It's in your mind. It's a pure fantasy. And these idiots are like, yeah, fascism, yeah, Nazism. This is what Trump derangement syndrome is doing. It's making people literally insane. So, to me now, the poor people, I know there's a lot of good people in Worcester. You got yourself a mess. And it starts with the city council. You better clean it up. Because this is only, from this point forward, it doesn't get better. It gets worse. Jim, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868. Here. This is to me maybe the most despicable thing that I saw yesterday. Okay? On social media. You know, it wasn't the crazy outfits, the crazy drag, a man, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm neither, I'm both, I'm an it, I'm a they, I'm gonna be killed, I'm dying, we're all being shot, we're all dead, how come you don't care about us, where bodies are all over the street, where are the bodies, I don't know, can't you see the bodies? That was the spectacle yesterday, okay? But then they dragged out a 7-year-old kid. some parent drags out a 7-year-old boy who apparently his birthday is going to be this Saturday. And they use this child as an emotional weapon, as an emotional tool to manipulate the city council. Do you know what this 7-year-old boy wants for his birthday? Roll cut 28E, Mike.
Noticing people here are trying to control the rights of others, and that's not right. We should make Worcester a sanctuary city for trans people. Everybody deserves to feel safe, and everybody needs to feel safe. I've lived here for 4 years, and there hasn't really been any changes in how people feel safe in the city. My birthday is this Saturday, and all I want is peace and for you to vote yes. Please don't let me down for my birthday. There's a lot of queer people that I love, and to Candy Carlson, you should know to never call someone I'm 7 and I know better. The kids are watching and we're ready to vote you out.
Now, let me tell you, that's child abuse. I'm telling you right now, that the parents or parent, I don't know, okay, of that child, I'm telling you, that's child abuse. That child doesn't know what queer means. That child doesn't know what transgender means. That child doesn't even know what sanctuary status or sanctuary city means. That kid is being completely and utterly used and manipulated to put this sick stuff, this perverted sick stuff in that kid's head at 7 years old and destroy the innocence of that child. These people are disgusting. Oh my God, are they disgusting? They're disgusting. And by the way, why don't you tell the American people what puberty blockers do to 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids? Why don't you tell them how it destroys their fertility? How from that point forward, they can never have children, ever. They'll never be able to enjoy sexual relations, ever. Tell them what cross-sex hormones does. Tell them what the puberty blockers do. Never mind what so-called gender reassignment surgery does. It's genital mutilation. A girl's breasts are cut off, gone, done, finito. Her private part, okay? Gone, cut off, finito. If you're a boy, it's chopped off. Do you understand? You never get it back again. It's irreversible. And there's an army of people now who say, my God, I got manipulated by my parents or the school or the healthcare, the doctor or whoever, or these crazy trans activists into doing something that I thought would make me feel better and instead has destroyed and ruined my life, and I can't take it back. That's why Trump passed this executive order. If you're 19 years old or younger, you're a child or a teenager, no gender reassignment surgery, no so-called gender-affirming care, no puberty blockers, no cross-sex hormones, no sex change operations, none. Why? Because it's a form of torture. It's abuse. It's barbaric. No, we don't do that. We don't mutilate our kids in this country. You sickos, you. And instead, you now are going to give it elevated protected status in Worcester? So doctors can do it with impunity? Parents can do it with impunity? Oh, by the way, all on our taxpayer dime. I know it's Worcester. I get it. But all of us in Massachusetts, my taxpayer money is going for this. Your taxpayer money, you're paying for this. 617-266-6868. Laura in Carver. Thanks for holding, Laura, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi.
Jeff, by the way, this was all over Newsmax last night, and it was all over, Hannity had it on last night, Worcester, what's going on in Worcester. Jesse Waters opened up his show with it. It really is mind-boggling how deteriorated Massachusetts has become. And by the way, we have a Democratic Congresswoman by the name of Catherine Clark, and this is who we have for representation. Her daughter Riley Dowell is in this zone with these transgender, with these transgender people. And apparently you had said that, yes, they are violent because her daughter, Catherine Clark's daughter, was arrested at a National Men's March back in 2024. She is violent, and she also was arrested for assaulting a police officer. So, yeah, these people are violent, and it's getting to the point, where you used to have a Trump bumper sticker on and they would screw up your car. But from what I'm hearing now, another story I'm hearing is that if you're driving a Tesla, you're screwed even more now.
Yeah, because of Elon Musk. No, I know. I hear you, Laura. You're completely right. Look, it's getting bad. Now, look, I don't want to keep playing these cuts, but transgender terrorism is up. Okay, we know that now. There's a lot of transgender activists who have engaged in shootings, terrorist acts across the entire country. It's starting to become obvious. Many of them are seriously mentally ill, but what you also catch when you listen is, I told you, it's the paranoid schizophrenia. They're going on about, I'm going to die. They're hunting us down. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us. And as I'm watching them, it's really frightening. All you're thinking is, I hope that person doesn't get a gun. Because this person is convinced that people are out to kill him or kill her. They're convinced of it. They really, if they're not medicated, they're absolutely convinced of it. And they may pick up a gun and start shooting people because they're just convinced there's this massive conspiracy to kill them. We are treating people with serious mental health issues and sick perversions as perfectly normal. And glamorizing them, idolizing them. And we're going to pay we're already paying a price, but we're going to pay a very deep price for this. Listen, to the people of Worcester, maybe you got blindsided by this. Maybe you didn't see this coming. Maybe you didn't hear about it. The whole world now knows about it. If I were you, rescind that sanctuary status resolution and rescind it now. Because once you lose your city, you're not getting it back. David in Brookline. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff.
Hi,
and
David.
Belated condolences for your dad.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Jeff, speaking as a Brookline resident, I was a long-time suffering conservative here. I was very happy because it's almost normal now to drive up Beacon Street after seeing this freak show. And if I was a resident and business leader of Salem, Massachusetts, I'd be very angry because they're going to lose their attraction as a Halloween destination spot. I mean, it's an absolute freak show. On a more serious note, these people, as you said, they're sick and they're enabling them. The more you enable bullies and normalize this, the more it becomes embedded and it'd be harder to get rid of. I'd be interested to follow the money, as you say, because these people are often used by the political forces trying to create chaos. I'd like to know if any of the city council members received any money for their vote. I know it sounds far-fetched, but I wouldn't put it past the same people that have created so much chaos in the country. And my final point, Jeff, you remember during the Brandon administration, they had that picture of that drag queen, that horrible-looking person. It was a male pretending to be a woman standing over that little schoolgirl. I can never forget that. That was frightening. It looked like a monster. Well, this person last night, and you brought him up in your opening remarks, the guy that stood up with the giant Adam's apple, he looked just like the character from Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill, the psychopathic killer. And so, we can joke about it, but this is like, on one hand it's funny, on the other hand it's completely sick, and it's I hate to say it, but it's satanic.
No, it is satanic. No, you shouldn't hate to say it. It's the truth. No, look, that guy makes my hair stand on edge. No, you can just, there's something seriously unhinged with him. You can see that. And look, 4 years under Biden, that's all he did was encourage this, both here and abroad, as we're seeing now through USAID and that whole scandal. So all they did was push transgenderism in Colombia, in Peru, in Africa, in Eastern Europe, in Serbia. I could go on. And they've been pushing it here. And you've got to ask yourself, why Worcester? Like, really, if I was to pick, right, if you were to say to me, okay, no, Jeff, look, this is what's going to happen. A town or city in Massachusetts is going to be the first in the country to have a sanctuary status or sanctuary city for transgendered people and non-binary people. Which town would it be? Wow, honestly, Brookline would be right up there. Boston, obviously. Cambridge, right? I mean, one of these. I wouldn't think Worcester. Worcester's in Western Mass, fairly conservative in general. So why Worcester? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And I think because they want to attack whatever few red areas are left in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And they're not just going to do it in mass. They're going to do it across the entire country. Because if they can do this in Worcester, I'm telling you they can do it anywhere. They can do this anywhere. This is a raw, naked display of power. And boy, the city council, they just crumbled. They folded like a cheap suit. It was pathetic. And even the two that voted against, I can't speak for both. I know one of them gave this mealy-mouthed reason why he voted against it. He did the right vote, don't get me wrong, but it was, well, I don't know if this will be 100% safe for the people of Worcester, and if I'm not 100% sure, I can't give my consent, and it was almost like an apologetic no. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. 617-266-6868. All right, we've crossed the Rubicon. Worcester now becomes the first sanctuary city for transgendered people. Your opinion, good idea, bad idea. 19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are jammed. Let's go to Kiva in New Hampshire. Kiva, thanks for holding and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Long time. I am a libertarian and I'm also a transgender person. And let's talk about what I agree with and what I disagree with. I'm a consenting adult. I don't push my agenda on anybody. I voted for Trump in all three elections. I support the president's agendas. I may disagree with some of the things, but let's get to the points that I do agree on. I don't agree with using children for any political means as pawns or, to promote some political ideology of any kind. I also don't believe in using schools as a platform to push liberal Marxist agendas. That stuff should be out of school. We all agree on that. It's for reading, writing, arithmetic, and to, get you to the next level. I don't agree with all the freak flags flying. I believe that inappropriate sexual behavior is inappropriate for anyone, whether you are cis, trans, gay, straight, whatever. I think we can all agree on that, right? Holding hands, that's one thing. But bringing your freak show into the school is another thing. I also agree with your last caller that I believe a lot of people in the transgender community have been hijacked by this liberal Marxist ideology. I don't subscribe to that. I work. I'm an engineer. I don't live in my parents' basement. I'm a consenting adult. The choices I made, and we could get into the whole argument if it's a choice or not in the biology, but let's not go there right now. Let's say, okay, what's common here? We can all agree that the freak show doesn't need to happen, but these people are being manipulated by people like your last caller mentioned, maybe getting paid by USAID, right? There is always Soros money behind this stuff. The prime objective is to create chaos and dissent. I don't agree with that. I don't push my beliefs on other people. But I will say that I am not morally defective. Maybe by your standards, yes, but not by mine. And nor am I mentally defective. Like I said, I go to work every day. I'm an engineer. I didn't go to liberal school where I was taught Marxist ideology. I actually work, and I raise my children. Now, what I disagree on is the stuff. Well, not with your listeners, but myself. I don't feel threatened. I don't feel like people are coming to kill me, round me up, put me in a gulag. I don't need a sanctuary city. I don't know of anybody that does need a sanctuary city. Not even illegal aliens need a sanctuary city. There shouldn't be any sanctuary cities. But I do subscribe to the Constitution, and I took an oath to defend it. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. My transgenderism does not affect any of you all. But last point, Jeff, and I'll turn it over, is let's not paint people with a big brush, because we all hate it. When people painted police officers with the big brush and said all cops are bad. No, that's not true. There are some bad cops. The same thing applies to transgender people. Not all transgender people are deviant freaks, right? Yes, there are. And drag queens in school has no place. I agree with that. But let's not attack people personally, because there's plenty of deviance on all fronts. So I'll turn it over to you, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Well, Kiva, look, almost everything you said I agree with. So there's a lot of consensus between you, me, and I'm sure for much of the audience. Let me just say this. I'm a libertarian on many, many issues. And on this issue, I've always been a libertarian. What Kiva does in the privacy of his own home is Kiva's right, and it's Kiva's business. It's no one else's business. So I fundamentally believe in that. So no one wants to persecute you. No one wants to round you up. No one wants to make your life miserable. No one wants to take away your job or your children or your family away from you. Quite the opposite. So, and I'm happy that you said that you don't feel that, because really I know most Trump supporters, they just want to be left alone and they want to leave everyone else alone. So, on that, we see eye to eye. No, I think, Kiva, what's really getting people fired up is you've got these trans activists, as you put them, these liberal Marxists, who now have pushed the envelope when it comes to places like Worcester, to the point now that they're really ramming their agenda down everyone's throat. And it's going to create a huge backlash. I don't think it's going to benefit the transgender community. I don't think it's going to help the LGBTQ plus community. I think to me, they're like the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons, what they did to the black community for decades. They're not your friends. They're your mortal enemy. And I'm very happy that you called. I'm very happy that you're speaking out. And I'm very happy that you're calling them out, because you should. Because I'm telling you what they're doing. You're right. I completely agree with you. There should not be sanctuary cities for anybody or anything. Whatever it's illegal aliens, transgendered people, I don't care. I don't care what the issue is. We're America. We're all equal under the law. And so, the left doesn't see it like that. And they look at Worcester and they see it as one big social engineering experiment. And the city council, to their eternal shame, is now caved. Kiva, I've got to ask you, I've got less than a minute, if you can be very quick. Why is it that there are so many in the transgender community that have become convinced that Trump is hunting them down and he wants to kill all of them? Where is this coming from? Do you know?
When I'm plugged in with 3,500 people, and that's just a constant rant and a fear-mongering that Trump is a fascist and a Nazi. No, he's not. And he's not rounding us up, and he's not going to put us in gulags. None of that's going to happen, but the fear is being pushed. But I think these people are low-level people being used and manipulated by higher-level Soros, Marxist kind of people. City Council in Worcester being one of them. They're the ones pushing the political agenda. I'm not. I just want to live my life. But there is a lot of fear-mongering, and these people are convinced, delusionally convinced, that that Trump is coming to get him. Elon Musk is coming to get him. It's not happening.
Kiva, as always, thank you very much. That's a few times now you've called the show. Every time you hit it out of the park. Kiva, thank you very much for that call. And please don't be a stranger. Call again. 617-266-6868. More with your reaction next. 7:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. All right, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. And obviously it's in reaction to the huge story, which has really gone, forget national, almost international, about Worcester. Yes, Worcester in Massachusetts, now becoming the first sanctuary city in the country for transgendered individuals or transgendered people and those who are quote unquote non-binary. So here is the question. Should there be sanctuary cities at all? Not just for illegals or for transgendered people or, as Kiva made the point from New Hampshire, he said, look, I don't think we should have sanctuary cities for anything, any cause, anybody, any class of people, just no sanctuary cities for anything. I agree with him. I'm asking you, do you agree with him? Yes or no? Should there be sanctuary cities for anything? I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X, very active on X, my handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn as in national ER. You know where I stand. No sanctuary cities of any kind for anybody or any group of people, period, full stop. Okay, super quick on Messenger. This is from Dave, our Western PA correspondent in Pennsylvania. Jeff, the world doesn't revolve around these transgendered liberals. And it's time that the world told them so. I agree with you. I mean, really, look, again, as I told Kiva, what you want to do in the privacy of your own home or your personal relationships, or really, that's your business. To me, this is America. You should be free to do what you want to do in your own home or among your own friends or among people close to you. But don't ram it down my throat. And don't ram it down the public's throat. And certainly don't have a whole city now stand there and have to accept your far left Marxist agenda, because that's what it is. 617-266-6868. This is from Caitlin. Jeff, soon we will be busing every sexually confused kid across the state of Massachusetts to schools in Worcester. And there's no question. This is going to have massive long-term ramifications on every front. And that's why the LGBTQ community, the professional activists, they knew exactly what they're doing. They picked Worcester as ground zero. And they're going to use that city now as basically their laboratory, their social engineering experiment. 617-266-6868. Patrick in Peabody. Thanks for holding, Patrick, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Patrick.
I have a particular point of view based upon some experience that I had decades ago in my dark days as a Democrat. I participated in a primary, and it was the teacher's candidate in the primary up against the fireman's candidate. And I'm saying, what's wrong with this picture? And I think that relates to what's happening in Worcester and with major cities throughout the country, is that they're very politically unionized. Public employees are very politically active and have a real leg up when it comes to getting control of the mayor and picking the mayors and the councilmen and the selectmen in the major cities. And this has a detrimental effect because basically we've transitioned into two classifications of citizens in the country: the bureaucratic public employee class and the rest of us. And they're very politically active. They really own the Democrat Party, and that's what I have to say about that. And unfortunately, active people who are very motivated get into these bureaucracies, and they don't last because those who want to do good, it's very hard in that toxic environment that they go into. And that, as a result, we have mediocre people that rise to the top. It's like the crud rather than the cream rises to the top. A good example of that was Fauci. 40 years in, terrible guy. He did very bad disservice over the COVID issue, and but that's what we're fighting now. And they're going to push back. It's only human nature that they're going to push back on these issues. It's a pocketbook issue for them. They're very threatened and very fearful about losing what they have because they're basically a privileged welfare recipient in many of these bureaucratic agencies. And that's why they love to build an underclass of welfare recipients.
Oh, well, that's a good point. No, that's an excellent point, Patrick. And look, I think that's what they're trying to do with this whole trans issue and these trans activists. Like Kiva mentioned the point about how they're spreading fear among the trans community, and it's working. You can see it. Again, I can play you. It's frightening. It's scary. I'm going to die. Do I have to plead for my life? How many more of my trans brothers and sisters have to die? And you're like, but no one's died. Calm down. But there's so much hysteria, and they're fomenting now, they're inciting so much fear, and there's so much fear mongering that they're shaking. They're trembling. They're standing there they're going to be put into a cattle car. Like this is, Poland, 1941. And you're Jewish. Like they're about to load you onto a cattle car and off you go to Auschwitz. They're trembling, they're shaking. To have such a fundamental disconnect from reality. And so they're being used. I hate the term, but it's apt now. They're being gaslighted. Okay, they're being emotionally manipulated. And you're right. It's to keep them under their control and under their thumb. And, and the other thing, Patrick, just as you were talking, I was just, you're triggering a lot of ideas in my head. And I'm just thinking, imagine living in Worcester for a second. Sleepy town, whatever. It's the second biggest city, but you know what I mean? It's a fairly sleepy city. Nothing really much exciting happens in Worcester. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that it's quiet. It's relatively safe. It's a nice place to raise your family. And all of a sudden you wake up one morning and, Fox News and Newsmax and, cable news channels all over the country, all over the world, and they're talking about your city, and you're like, what? Yeah, I know. I use town as a figure of speech. I know it's a city. Sandy says it's a pretty big city. No, I know it's the second biggest city in Massachusetts. I meant more like, okay, it's a sleepy city. And you wake up and you suddenly now, what? It's been hijacked by transgender activists? The what? Have we become a sanctuary city for what? Non-binary people, transgendered people? What? They're going to be teaching in all our schools? What? They're going to be playing with our kids? What? All of a sudden now we have to cater to them in our housing and the economy and our institutions and in schools. So all of a sudden now we're going to become a Mecca? And everybody's going to come crashing to Worcester who's in drag or is trans or what? What just happened? That's, to me, what is scary about living, not just in Massachusetts, but in the country. these cultural Marxists, they mobilize themselves. I mean, at the drop of a hat, at the snap of a finger. And before you know it, you're in the middle of a culture war. And all you want to do is go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes, raise your children, and just try to make ends meet. And now instead, you got to go to city council. You got to fight for your children. You got to fight for yourself. You got to fight for your family. I mean, you got to fight the school board. You got to fight to retake your city. So look, vote every one of those 9 city council members who voted yes. This is the only way you're going to fix Worcester. Vote them out. Like, it's time for people to grow a pair. We're not going to be intimidated by the extreme radical left. It's not your city. It's not your children. It's not your family. It's not. You're going to stop trying to destroy our lives and our city. Now, unless Worcester grows some balls, I'm telling you, it's going to get worse. So grow a pair. If not, you're in trouble. 749 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just super quick. Here's just a little bit of some of the montage of the Worcester City Council meeting a couple nights ago, where they voted 9-2 to pass a resolution declaring Worcester the country's first, numero uno, the first sanctuary city for transgendered people and non-binary people. Listen now to one guy, I think it's a man with very, very long hair, obviously I think identifies as a woman, but anyway, says this is Worcester now has become a stronghold of Nazism because he had too many Trump supporters, too many Trump flags, and with these executive orders now signed by Donald Trump regarding recognizing two sexes, men and women, and banning gender reassignment surgery, and puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for children and teenagers under the age of 19. Nazism now is rearing its ugly head across America, but especially, for some reason, in Worcester. Roll cut 28D, Mike.
I get that some of you care more about easy funding than trans lives and don't mind Nazis for some whatever reason. Okay, so that was the tone of the whole 3 hours. Let me just play one more. This is person, trans activist, wearing a leather jacket, obviously very disturbed. You can tell on the person's face, very disturbed, in fear, shaking with fear. Roll cut 28A, Mike.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here. I'm sorry, am I taking too long pleading for my life?
So basically, if they don't pass this sanctuary city status resolution, he's dead. That Trump's going to hunt him down and kill him. 6-1 or Elon. Someone is going to kill him from the Trump administration because it's a Nazi dictatorship and aimed against trans people. Not Jews, but trans people. 617-266-6868. Paula in Easton. Thanks for holding, Paula, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Paula.
First of all, I want to offer my sincere condolences about your father.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula.
Yeah, I've called in a few times. In the morning, I listen to you, and also I say my prayers. And I just think God was speaking to me. One of the readings was a reading from the book of Genesis 2:18 through 25. May I? The Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a suitable partner for him." So the Lord God formed out of the ground various wild animals.
Paula, are you still there? I think did we lose Paula? Yeah, well, I mean, and yes, and then, God made Adam, God made Eve, right? In other words, God made man and woman, right? That's I get your point. We lost Paula for whatever reason, but no, look, that's, that we have to even say that is to me what's shocking. That Trump even had to write that executive order saying that the government from this point forward is going to recognize only two sexes, male and female. I mean, that's like, duh, right? That's really duh. Again, that's like, well, sky is blue. 2 + 2 = 4. If we got to start telling people that 2 + 2 = 4, Houston, we got a problem. We got a big problem. So, and that's what this radical transgender movement is trying to destroy. Any sense of right and wrong, any sense of truth, that 2 + 2, or objective biological reality, that 2 + 2 = 4. That, God made man and God made woman. That's it. You got an XX chromosome, you got an XY chromosome. That's it. That's DNA. That's our fundamental biological makeup. They're trying to destroy all of that. And they're trying to coerce the public into believing this massive lie. And again, I go back to what I said in my opening hour. That's why this movement is ultimately so dangerous. Because if they can convince you, like George Orwell famously warned in 1984, that 2 + 2 is not 4, it's 5. That the sky is not blue, it's purple. That no, you're not staring at a man, or you're not staring at a woman. You're staring at an it, you're staring at a they, you're staring at a, whatever. Then they can dominate your mind, control your mind, and that is the road to totalitarianism. Basically, they can control anything that you say and anything that you believe. 617-266-6868 is the number. Tom in Lynn. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Yes, Worcester, Sanctuary City. I think this is a great idea. Okay? Worcester, I'll describe them all very broadly as non-binaries, but in Worcester, they will feel protected. They will be protected. Worcester will be like a magnet. People will be drawn there from places like Lynn, Peabody, Swampscott, Nahant, Saugus. There's a sizable community of these people in Saugus. They congregate on Ballard Street. They don't bother anybody. It's quite a spectacle, but they go to Worcester. They'll be happy. I'll be happy. They'll be comfortable. I'll be more comfortable.
I'm saying it's a great idea. Why? So they'll leave Lynn. It'll be like a magnet. So the LGBTQ plus people will just leave city after city, town after town, and then we'll be more comfortable and they can all hang out together and be together in one place. Now, by the way, I'm telling you, that's what a lot of people in Worcester are worried about. Because once you've passed this sanctuary status, city status, what do you think's going to happen? Tom's onto something. It's going to be a magnet. They're going to say, hey, this is where we should be. Let's all go to Worcester. And before you know it, instead of having 50 or 100 or 200 or 300 of them, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. That's the conundrum now that Worcester is in. Paul in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
Yes, Kuhner.
Hi, Paul.
What it says on your birth certificate, that's who you should be. Now, let me get on speakerphone for a second. Ooh. Jeez. Hello?
Paul, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, listen. What it says on your birth certificate, that's who you are. That's the way God created you. No one has the right to force anything down your throat. And as far as Worcester is concerned, only 50 miles away from my house. These people who voted for this resolution should be primaried.
Oh, I agree. I mean, they should be voted out of office. They should be shamed. They really, in the old days, they'd be tarred and feathered. I mean, this is beyond disgraceful. And look, just leave aside that you're turning your city into an insane asylum. Okay, just let that go for a second. Look what you're doing to your own children. You have a duty as a city member of the city council to protect the children of your city. So number one, look, you got that kid here. Let me just play the kid for a second, okay? This boy here, 7-year-old boy at Worcester. So they use this kid, they bring him up, and they give him a script. And he says this Saturday, I guess 2 days from today is his birthday. And what do I want for my birthday? Roll cut 28E, Mike.
Noticing people here are trying to control the rights of others, and that's not right. We should make Worcester a sanctuary city for trans people. Everybody deserves to feel safe, and everybody needs to feel safe. I've lived here for 4 years, and there hasn't really been any changes in how people feel safe in the city. My birthday is this Saturday, and all I want is peace and for you to vote yes. Please don't let me down for my birthday. There's a lot of queer people that I love, and to Candy Carlson, you should know to never call someone I'm 7 and I know better. The kids are watching and we're ready to vote you out.
I mean, this is unbelievable, okay? So they're abusing that kid. That's naked child abuse. But my point is just this. What if that parent says, no, you're not a boy. No, I'm telling you, you're not a boy, you're a girl. That's what a lot of these activists do. They look at their children almost like experiments. It's cool. It's like they're in. It's like fashionable. It's the it thing to do. Aha, I had gender reassignment surgery done to my little junior. You know? I got my little kid on puberty blockers. Don't you have yours on puberty blockers? So, 7 years old, the parent says, you know what? No, you're not a boy. Sorry. No. I don't care what's between your legs. Nope. I don't care what's on your passport. Nope. I don't care what your chromosomes are. Nope. Okay? You're now a she. So, start putting on a dress, start putting on makeup, put on a little wig, whatever it is, and we're going to start to give you puberty blockers. And we're going to start giving you cross-sex hormones. So I'm going to destroy your internal biological makeup. I'm going to make sure that you never have children again, because that's the effect of this. You're destroying your child's fertility. Your child's never going to enjoy sexual relations. You're going to mess that child up. And then you say, what the hell? Chop it off. We're going to go for the whole sex change operation. Worcester is going to allow that. It's going to allow that. Against the law. Against the law. That child, if that parent wants, could mutilate and destroy that child. Now, you're a city councilor and you say yes? You open the door to that? You're a coward and you're a disgusting human being. You're pathetic. You should be ashamed of yourself. And how many other countless hundreds, if not thousands of children you're going to be exposing to this? And then that's the most obvious direct example and consequence. You're going to have drag queen story hour now in schools all across Worcester. You're going to have trans people now teaching, in drag, dressed in drag, going to school. And you're going to be teaching 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders. And there's nothing anybody can do because they're all under a sanctuary status jurisdiction. Do you know what we're exposing our children to? So when you've messed up these kids, or when you've perverted these kids, or when you've destroyed their innocence, where do they get their innocence back? And, and the other thing is, look, I'm sorry, but this to me is such common sense. I can't believe I even have to say it. I'm at a city council meeting. I'm a member of the city council. I see somebody dressed, I'm talking blue hair, the craziest outfit you've ever seen. And they're telling me that they don't know who they are. That they've got a private name that they were given, but they've taken on a public name. But that they're in drag, but they wanted to hide from the taxi driver that they're in drag, even though they were dressed in drag. I'm telling you, that's what one of them said. Okay, with the blue hair, the woman with the blue hair. So she goes, I came here in a taxi, but I didn't want the taxi driver to see I'm in drag, even though I'm in drag. So I had to pretend in the back seat that he didn't see me and that I was invisible. And you're just listening to this person, and all you're saying, this is what they're all thinking. They're all liars. They're thinking, this person needs serious mental help. This person is clearly not right in the head. By the way, and this person it's a woman. This woman is listing, I don't know how many illnesses. You should have seen, I've been diagnosed with this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, it's pretty obvious. But no. I want you to recognize me as a normal, sane human being, and I want you to change the entire political, legal status of your city to accommodate me and my insanity. And you're like, okay, I'm a moonbat. I'm a woke lefty. Here, listen to this. Okay? Blue hair woman. Makeup on her. I mean, you got to see the whole thing. At the Worcester City Council saying she's afraid of Trump. I don't know why. But if they don't toe the line on this, because people are afraid they're going to lose federal funding, then she's threatening violence, and people like her are threatening violence on the city of Worcester. Roll cut 28, Mike.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
Okay, that's a threat. And this is coming from a woman who says that she's invisible in the backseat of a taxi, who's also got 15 different conditions, mental conditions. Now, all I'm thinking is if you're any person with any kind of common sense, A, out, everyone out. B, make sure they don't have access to a gun. And C, we're going to capitulate to them? We're not talking, this is not even left, right, center, Republican, Democrat. This is, no. The insane are not going to run our city. I'm sorry, we don't kowtow to people who are sick in the head. They need help. They need psychiatric help. They need psychological help. They need mental health help. They need medication. Obviously, a lot of them need medication. But no, I'm sorry. Well, I'm a cat. I want you to recognize I'm a cat. No, you're a human being. Meow, meow, meow. You can meow till the cows come home. Do you understand? You're not a freaking cat. You're a human being. Next. No, she's a cat. You see the problem? These idiots are saying she's a cat. 617-266-6868. John in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call, Jeff.
My pleasure, John.
I want to start this out by saying, Bible tells us that in the last days, God will send over a great delusion. And those people who just reject him, continue to reject him, he's going to hand them over to their sin. Now, for a lot of people who don't understand what's going on, why these people are so crazy, you got to read in Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is demonic. And I finish by saying this. Every time a demon was addressed in the Bible, they used pronouns. They referred to themselves as us, or we, or they. This is demonic. And the only way we can battle against demonic activity is by getting this country to acknowledge who the real head of the country is, and we need to get back to biblical principles. We need to turn back to God because he's the only one that can defeat this. I believe personally that's why Trump was spared. to expose the evil and to give us one more chance.
Oh, I agree. John, I agree on every count. Look, this is diabolical. Satanic, demonic, diabolical, use whatever term you want to use. I think it's all accurate. No, look, the great Russian novelist, and a Christian, by the way, very devout Christian, Orthodox Christian, Russian Christian, Fyodor Dostoevsky famously said, once you remove God, everything becomes possible, everything becomes permissible. That's what we're seeing now in America and frankly in the West. We have removed God. This is what you get. This is what you get. And look, John, I know exactly where you're coming from. Please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not even arguing, you're right, this is a moral, spiritual battle. No question. No question. But I'm not even arguing on moral, spiritual grounds. Where's the grown-up in the room? Where's the one that says, you're nuts? You're nuts. Do you understand? You're nuts. Okay? Bye. You're nuts. I'm not even asking you to bring a cross or holy water or perform an exorcism no, really. You are, look, John, in all seriousness, okay? Imagine I go on the air. Just stand back for a second, okay? I go on the air and I start telling you that you, John, and this great audience, I'm a woman. You're like, what? No, I'm telling you, I'm a woman. Well, what do you mean you're a woman? I feel like a woman. I am a woman. I don't want to be addressed anymore as a man. I want to be addressed as a woman. I'm no longer Jeff. I'm Jane. So please start calling me Jane and refer to me as a she and a her, and I'm a woman. And I tell Sandy and I tell Mike, no, listen to me. I'm a woman now. And I start walking around in a dress and I'm wearing a lipstick and makeup and this and that. And no, really. And I start to change my voice. And what would you say? You say, Jeff, you got to get help, man. Something's not right. Then I say, no. Sometimes I'm a man. Sometimes I'm a woman. Sometimes I'm neither. I'm non-binary. What do you mean? I'm a they. I'm multiple people. I'm a man. I'm a woman. I'm neither. I'm both. I'm a space alien. I'm an it. Really? What would you say? Jeff, jeez, man, you got to get help. Like, buddy, what's wrong, man? Really? Right? That's what everybody would say to me. Instead, these idiots show up at a city council and you get enough of them in a room and they're one after the other in front of a microphone. They're yelling Nazi, fascist, Trump, dictatorship. I'm not going to be bullied. My rights are being taken away. We're being killed. We're being hunted down. And suddenly, and by the way, the Boston Globe is supporting them. And the entire media in this corrupt state is supporting them. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, okay, yeah, sure, wait, whatever you want. No, we'll get sanctuary status. You got it. You want to teach our kids? You got it. No, you want to run the city? You got it. No, whatever you want, you got it. You want to mutilate kids? You got it. Whatever you want, you got it. This is the sign of a society going mad. Am I wrong? Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this headline pretty much says it all. Today's Boston Herald. Actually, it was yesterday's Boston Herald, forgive me. Worcester becomes transgender sanctuary city after public compares Trump administration to Nazis. So there you go. So my sister is weighing in on this all the way from Tucson, Arizona. Here is what she texted me. Jeff, Trump needs to put into law that any city that declares itself a sanctuary city stop receiving any federal money and services. The city must vote with and have more than 50% of its citizens in favor via a legal referendum or vote. And if they're still crazy enough to do so, then they're on their own. Trust me, this will end sanctuary cities. Uncle Sam is not Uncle Sucker anymore. Look, this is the other thing. How do 9 people on the city council, how do they suddenly turn an entire city into a sanctuary city? and all the ramifications and consequences that flow from that, i.e., losing federal funding. At a bare minimum, put it to a vote. Ask the people of Worcester. I mean, at a bare minimum, say you need 50% plus one. At least do that. But suddenly, 9 crazy moonbats can destroy an entire city and jeopardize all of its federal funding? I don't think so. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. And this is a really, really good text. You can text us, by the way, 70470, 70470. This is from 802. Jeff, the Red Sox are the most woke team in baseball. So just wait until the Worcester Red Sox have trans night and have a trans person throw out the first pitch. I'm telling you, it's coming. And I can also see the PA announcer. Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, cats, gerbils, he, him, her, she, them, they, it. And welcome to, I mean, I agree with 802. It's coming. Oh, the Red Sox are going to milk this now for all that it's worth. 617-266-6868. Dave in Vermont. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Getting a little crazy down there, eh?
Honestly, Dave, I thought this would be more like, your territory up there in Vermont with crazy Bernie Sanders and, all the crazy moonbats. But no, we seem to be beating you to punch now, Dave, again and again and again. We're out moonbatting you. We're out moonbatting California. We're out moonbatting everybody right now.
Burlington's still trying. Hey, Jeff, the answer of...
Dave, what do you think the fallout ultimately is going to be from this? We lost Dave. Let me ask all of you, really, what do you think the fallout's going to be? Do you think this is going to stand, or do you think Worcester is going to be forced to have to revoke and rescind this? I hope the people of Worcester rise up and, give the city council a piece of their mind and tell them you better revoke this resolution, man, if you all know what's good for you politically. But I don't know. Once these sanctuary cities, once they take hold, it's very hard to get rid of them, as Trump and Pam Bondi and everybody's finding out. Lee in Waltham, thanks for holding, Lee, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Lee.
And in answer to your question, I'm glad you asked the question. What's the fallout going to be? Well, those brilliant light bulbs out in Worcester just put the revolver to their heads with one bullet in, and they're going to keep spinning and spinning that. Here's what's going to happen. Now that it's officially a sanctuary city for every creature walking, think about the police department, the fire department, the teachers, the EMTs. They are going to have to allow them to apply like everybody else does. Could you see any of those people that demand to be part of this sanctuary city? They're going to be among the volunteer, not the volunteer services, the services of the community. And if they aren't allowed to apply, or if they even feel a hint of being scrutinized, there's going to be lawsuits. I think that they're going to make more of a hot mess out of Worcester than it was already. I went to a wedding there 3 years ago. There were potholes all over that downtown. It's the only gem in that city is the Hanover Theater, which is a gem in that city. But wait and see. It will become, like the gentleman from Lynn said, be my guest. Everybody can move all those folks can move to Worcester, but you're going to see them in the streets. You'll see them in the restaurants. They will be overwhelming the community, but what you saw on TV was just a taste of what their demands.
I agree. Lee, I think this is a brilliant call. This is an absolutely brilliant call. And look, the resolution even says, forget even being considered for opportunities. They have to be hired. So you're going to see them as police officers, firefighters, teachers, judges, you name it. Can you imagine being pulled over and one of them is a cop? Huh? 31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. I'm just thinking, if they got to start hiring them as, police officers, firefighters, teachers, judges, the whole kit and caboodle. What if a police officer, one of these trans activists, pulls you over, they're dressed in drag. I got you going 60 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. I identify as a turtle. That's what I would say. Nah, you got the wrong person. Do I call you officer? I mean, I don't know. What do I call you? But anyway, I'm a turtle. I can't go more than 1 mile per hour. So you got the wrong guy. Give somebody else a ticket. Cause I identify as very slow. Very, very slow. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jen in Bridgewater. Thanks for holding, Jen, and welcome.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Jen?
Good. I just wanted to give kind of a different take. I'm a therapist and obviously conservative. My field is really focused on social justice, LGBTQ, all of those things have really kind of taken hold. And as we're seeing in Worcester, our influx of referrals are higher than ever when it comes to LGBTQ. So for people like myself, who are kind of an anomaly in my field, maybe in this part of the country, where I'm focused on everybody and trying to support everybody, we've had to change a lot of what we do when it comes to this population in terms of language, how we adapt our therapeutic models, and really how we keep people safe. More often than not, I'm conducting risk assessments, making sure this person's safe, making sure they don't have access to means. For example, if we have somebody come in who say, hey, Jen, I need to work on some childhood trauma, we're going to work on that. We have kind of the source. We're going to have a trauma-informed care plan. We're going to have a recovery model. When it comes to situations like this, we're getting, this person isn't affirming me. This relative is using my dead name. This person did not use my pronouns at work. I'm quitting my job. So a lot of what we see in sort of the therapeutic space is shifting so much to just validation, trying to keep people alive. So again, from our perspective, from the conservative perspective, I feel so limited in what I can do to keep people feeling well, because again, so many of these instances are happening where it's not enough. No matter what, it's this person's not doing enough for me, this city council, this town, this school system, and then people are coming to us, and it's like, I'm still depressed. I'm still, struggling with my safety. And then, people like myself are like, I don't know what else to do. And, on our end too, it's all about keep people safe, keep people coming back, keep them in a space where they're not going to be hospitalized. But again, we're seeing so much more of people needing higher levels of care because of situations like this.
Jen, if you don't mind me asking, and if I'm getting too personal or violating patient, doctor confidentiality, please tell me. But in fact, let me just play a cut. And I think the cut will make my point for me. This is a trans activist who is convinced that his life is in mortal danger and that other trans people are being killed by Donald Trump, that they're dead already, and that his days are numbered. If they don't pass this sanctuary city status, like now, he's dead man walking. He's done. Roll cut 28C, Mike.
Can you look at me and tell me how many of my friends need to die before you do anything?
Please wrap
up. Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Pathetic.
We're all done. Come on.
Now, Jen, you mentioned you're dealing with a lot of patients from the trans community who come to you and you say they keep fearing for their own safety. They keep fearing for their own safety. Why are they so afraid for their own safety? Why are they so convinced that I'm going to kill him, you're going to kill him, Trump's going to kill him, the Trump administration is going to kill him, that they're being hunted down like the Jews under Hitler? What is driving this hysteria and paranoia? Do you have, do you have a theory on that?
Absolutely, Jeff. And really it comes down to news and social media. The amount of conversations I'm having with folks about what they're seeing on TikTok, a headline, a very short clip, an edited clip, they're getting very few snippets of information, and people are typically running with that. Not just LGBTQ clients that I have, I have a lot of, left-leaning clients, and they're talking about this. What's Trump going to do? Trump's going to take away my rights. Trump's going to take away my ability to stay married to my spouse. So they're getting fed all the information, and that's what the news does anyway, but people are really running with it. And what we try to do when it comes to people who have, intrusive thoughts, we're trying to present reality-based, rational thinking. And when you try to introduce that, to people who are so dead set on, I saw this on CNN, you can't convince me otherwise, I feel powerless in what I can do. And again, I'm working with people, across, many different mental health diagnoses to the most extreme. And with this situation, it gets more extreme by the day because, even simply, you could call somebody by their name and they say, well, that's not my name today. You've harmed me. So again, harm
I'm sorry, you what? What did they say? You did what to me?
Because they sometimes go by certain names. So you might assume, which is a problem, that the name that you used at the last session is the accurate name. And then they might say, you know what, Jen, that's not the name I'm using today. You have harmed me. You have committed violence against me.
So in other words, if they went by Bill, the last conversation, and now they go by Jenny, and you say, hi, Bill. No, I'm Jenny. So you've harmed them by calling them a name that they don't want you to call them, correct?
Correct.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Jen, I've got to ask you this. And again, if you're violating any confidence or confidentiality, I understand. Are there some patients that you're talking to? Because we keep hearing now about transgender shooters, transgender terrorism. When you hear how paranoid so many of them are, you're thinking, I wouldn't want a gun in their hands. So do you fear that maybe some of them are so extreme, so paranoid, so hysterical, so in fear of their lives that maybe they do pose a serious danger to the community? As in they may start shooting up a school or shoot up conservatives or shoot up a Trump rally or something like that?
Yeah, there's always that risk. Again, what's being fed from the news and social media, it's not exactly, the complete opposite. It's not saying, Trump is doing these exact policies and signing these executive orders. It's fear-based. It's fear-mongering, as you talk about a lot, And again, as I talk about, I have to do a lot of risk assessment. I have to ask somebody if they're a harm to themselves, if they're a harm to somebody else, if they have access to means, and access to means can also be lethal means. So obviously we have to determine a person's ability to remain safe in the community, because if somebody can't demonstrate that, if there is, any indication, and some people will be honest and forthcoming about that. Some people you do have to kind of unpack that a little bit more, but then we do have to do the appropriate measures and section them or, send them to the hospital for evaluation, change a medication, whatever it is, because we have an obligation as mandated reporters to ensure these people are safe and other people are safe. So it's constantly an assessment of safety, which again is at a core of being a therapist, but not so much where it's happening every single session where you have these concerns about stability.
Incredible. Jen, this is an incredible call. I have to tell you. Jen, before I let you go, incredibly informational. I've learned so much. Jen, if I came to you, okay, say, I did a therapy session with you, Jen, and I'm telling you I've got 6-pack abs, I'm 180 pounds and that I should be a model. What would you say to me? What would you say, yeah, Jeff, keep feeding that delusion? Or would you put me on medication? How would you take care of somebody like me that says, hey, I'm God's gift to women? What would you say to that?
Oh, Jeff, well, I got to validate you first and foremost. I got to, acknowledge that I hear what you're saying, and I might try to sit with you and unpack that a little bit more, kind of figure out, where are you getting that from and what's kind of driving that. So, yeah.
Jen, thank you very, very much for that call. I may pay you a visit. I'll validate that first. Hey, I'd be willing to pay for that. Yeah, Jeff. Okay, if that's what you think. Jen, thank you very much for that call. Really, really good call. 617-266-6868. So look, here you hear it straight from a therapist. More people are coming to her with these issues every day. It's getting worse all the time. They're a threat to themselves. They're a threat to people in the community. And you're doing violence or you're doing harm to them if they had one name the last session and then the next session they go by a different name. Now, you just heard it straight from an expert who's, been treating these people. You're going to give them sanctuary status in the second biggest city in Massachusetts? You see the problem? 617-266-6868 is the number. But no. According to the crazy liberals in this state, I'm the extremist. More with your calls next. Great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just as a very, very quick aside, it's practically irrelevant, but I don't know, I'm kind of cheering here while we were off air. So they've got these USAID hearings now that the House is holding. And one of the main witnesses that's going to be testifying against all of this waste, fraud, and abuse is actually a friend of mine. He didn't even tell me he was going to testify. Max. He's a great Croatian American, a conservative, big Trump guy. And I'm watching TV and I go, that's Max. So good for you, Max. So Max is testifying. All right. Okay. Good job, Max. All right. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is from 603 and it's an absolute doozy. You can text us, by the way, 70470. Jeff, the only people killing transgendered people are, wait for it, transgendered people. Have you seen the suicide rate among these people? It is off the charts. The only ones who present a danger to these people most of the time is themselves. Well, and that's what Jen was also bringing up. Our therapist, Kuhner Country's resident therapist, Jen in Bridgewater. Are they a threat not just to others, but obviously a threat to themselves? And when you hear a lot of them talk, especially at that Worcester City Council meeting a couple nights ago, holy shamoly. They look unhinged, deranged, seriously medically, ill. Like this got serious mental health issues. I'd be very worried about the suicide rate among many of them. They are not psychologically well. You can see that. 617-266-6868. Chris in Wichenden. Thanks for holding, Chris, and welcome.
Well, I'm third generation Croatian American. From my grandfather from a little place called Sabinik. And on the Adriatic.
Whoa, Chris, holy mackerel. So I got my buddy, who's a Croatian American from Chicago, testifying as you and I speak. And now I got another Croatian American calling me third generation. This is, Chris, I've never been surrounded by so many Croatian Americans in my life. Welcome, Chris. A double welcome, my friend.
I was torn between a few different movies that I saw relating this city council meeting, and just I'll make them quick because I have a few quick points. Idiocracy, the movie. I see elements of that. I see Patch Adams, where Robin Williams went in to the institution, and he was met by whom he thought was a head doctor, and dressed impeccably in a doctor's coat, and it turned out to be a patient. Well, these people in the council meeting weren't as conventionally attired, but I think, sir, of the movie Animal Farm, if you read thick into the book, toward the end, when the jig is up, when the people have been deceived on the farm, they say, well, what's going on? And the author Orwell writes, well, he says, all animals are free, but some are more equal than others. And I see this moving into these hate crime laws, and I support protection. All these people have equal protection under the law, Jeff. I've never seen a code book that exempts them from equal protection, and we all want that. We don't want anybody to be hurt, and they're already protected. Now, hate crime laws, they codify unequal justice under color of law, and so I'm concerned about that, because they already have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and they have protection under the law. So what is this all about? They're not exempted from that protection.
Oh, no, you're dead on. Chris, as I like to say, you're not 100, you're 1,000% correct. No, look, Chris, I think what's becoming very obvious, very crystal clear, and I was so happy that Jen called, because she really confirmed what everyone sort of knows. But she's like, look, I treat them, I talk to them on a daily basis, one appointment after another. So much of their fear is irrational. It's being driven by the news media, the fake news, the state-run media now. That's what it really should be called after this huge USAID scandal. I don't know if you heard, but Elon says I think it could be billions now that we have been secretly funneling to the New York Times and the Boston Globe and the Washington Post and CNN and the BBC. And so it's the state-run media. So all of this stuff, the fear-mongering from the state-run media on social media coming from Democrats, that Trump is the second coming of Hitler, that Trump is going to go into the trans community and start shipping them off and killing them and massacring them and rounding up into death camps and concentration camps. That's where so much of this insane hysteria and paranoia is coming from. Now, that's misinformation. That's blatant, deliberate, premeditated disinformation. They've got to be held accountable for that. And I'm sorry, but I go back to the Worcester City Council. As an adult in the room who's sane and normal, they should say, when they're saying, I'm going to die, you're not going to die. Calm down. You're being lied to. You're not being rounded up. You're not being shot. You're not being persecuted. Nobody wants to put you in death camps. This is 1,000% bull. You know what? Bravo Sierra. Like, people got to start telling them. Instead, they keep indulging their neuroses. When someone is mentally ill, don't indulge them. If they're telling you they're a pigeon, don't say, yeah, you're a pigeon. Or if they're telling you they're a dog, don't start going ruff, 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 ruff. Tell them, you're not a dog. I'm sorry. No, you're a person. What? No, here, let me show you a mirror. Here's the mirror. That's you. Does that look like a dog? That's not a dog. So it's the same thing. You're not going to die. Trump's not going to round you up. In fact, you're going to have more money in your pocket. You're going to have more economic opportunities. We're taking the illegals off the streets. Crime is going down. You're actually going to be much safer. Okay? Trump's going to make America great for you too. All right? Now, go see Jen in Bridgewater, and she needs to help you. That's what we have to start saying to people, Chris. Am I wrong?
Using them for putting them on a plantation and to cause further divisiveness. And I feel sorry for them. And I'm so thankful for your venue and what I've learned from listening to you and your listeners. And I want to end this call with that. And I'm grateful for this venue. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Chris. And please, my fellow Croatian American, don't be a stranger. Call again. We got to stick together. There's so few of us, Chris. We got to stick together. 617-266-6868. Al in Florida. Thanks for holding, Al, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. I'm 71 years old, Jeff, going to be 72 in March. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about how the greatest generation would deal with something like this. Let's say the greatest generation were the council people at Worcester. What do you think they would say? How would they handle that?
They would have laughed in their face, and they would have cleared the room. They would have said, get out. They wouldn't even have held a vote. Say the greatest generation. There's 11 council members, okay? So it's the greatest generation. I'm telling you 11-0. It doesn't matter if it's Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. It doesn't matter. They would laugh in their face, and then they would say, get out. A few may say you need mental help or you need health. You need help. You should see a doctor or a psychiatrist or Jen in Bridgewater. Here's a card. Here, let me give you a card and go see that person. But generally they'd say, get out, clear the room, out. We don't have time for this stupidity. Next. I'm telling you, that's what would happen. That's it. Al, that's exactly what would happen. Security, clear them. That's what they would say. No one's trying to kill you. No, but I'm a woman. No, you're a man. Just throw them out. Bye. Al, I'm telling you, that's exactly how they would handle it.
One more thing, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Al, agree, disagree? What do you think?
Oh, I agree. But one thing I want to say, and then I'm going to hang up.
Yes, go ahead.
I think this country right now needs to get back to the greatest generation. The country will then straighten out, and that's what Donald Trump is trying to do. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Al. Well, no, look, what the hell? At this point, I'm going to go to Worcester, and I'm going to identify as a billionaire. If they're all going to go crazy over there in Worcester, what the hell? I might as well get my cut. So maybe, you know what, guy? You know what I'm thinking, Sandy and Mike? Let's relocate the show to Worcester. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. And I'm going to identify as a billionaire. So when I go to the bank, I would say, hey, this one may be a man, this one may be a woman, this one may be an alien, this one may be, everything, this one may be a cat, this one may be a little doggy. I'm a multi-billionaire. The last time I checked, it's a race between me and Elon. Who's richer? I hear he's worth 400 billion. I'm 401. So, please, give me my cash. I'm taking out $1 billion, a big withdrawal, and give it to me in 20s. So, and I think then Worcester will say, no. But whoa, I identify as a billionaire. What the hell? My civil rights. 617-266-6868 is the number. John in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, I'm really glad I got on your show. First off, Jeff, you may recognize my voice. I'm a big fan of yours. I've been listening for years. I send you tips sometimes. I'm a very big Trump fan, conservative. I am so close to the story, and I hope some people here will listen to this. I'll try and be as succinct as I can. That therapist made a lot of sense. The first thing I want to make 2 points. The reason this is being passed in Worcester is because of this human rights campaign. What the human rights campaign is a coalition of LGBTQ+. So that's anybody who's gay, lesbian, trans, blah, blah, blah. People of color, so you even have immigrants, and HIV positive. So the reason what they do is they band together through their social media to get each other's agenda passed. That's why it's actually passing, in my opinion, in Worcester. But more importantly, I have a very, very bright kid who's been identifying as trans since the pandemic, and she is now at one of the best colleges in America, Ivy League level. I try to use my financial aid leverage to help my kid, to tell her, like you said, where's the parent in the room, that if she stayed on this path, I wasn't going to support her to the tune of about $30,000 a year out of my pocket. She told the school, and the school wiped me off the financial aid criteria as if I didn't exist, gave her an additional $30,000, and I'm out of her life. Additionally, in Rhode Island, by law, all therapists and all teachers, if a kid identifies as trans, by law, can only affirm them. This is how this grew and how I became out of my kid's life. They are not allowed to say, hey, maybe something else is going on here, or even see if the kid might be autistic, which potentially my kid is. They are only allowed to affirm. That's called gender affirming care. And I'd love you to do a story on gender affirming care, because there's a lawsuit which are using on this gender affirming care model. Judicial Watch is taking to the court. It's going to the Supreme Court. And what they did is they rigged at the American Association of Pediatricians 3 years ago. The steering committee was the gender affirming care policy was written by all LGBTQ doctors, 70% of who are already subscribing cross-sex hormones to their patients. That's why this has gotten to where it's at. So don't take it out on these poor kids. My kid, when you use the word it and these, their dogs or cats, my kid's an incredibly bright kid that is so indoctrinated, I can't get her back.
I hear you. No, John, look, please, don't mistake me trying to add a little levity to a very serious conversation, because this is really depressing, so, people are in their cars, they're battling traffic. I want them to laugh a little bit, as well as obviously inform and, we enlighten and we talk and we discuss. But please don't mistake me having a little levity as not understanding just how deadly serious, and I mean deadly. For some people, it's life and death. They commit suicide over this. They get, a permanent gender reassignment surgery, as they call it, a sex change operation, and their lives are irreversibly changed forever. So please don't mistake my levity for not being serious about this. Now, let me just get to the heart of the issue, because you touched on something very, very profound. There's a lot of social pressure in school. I know because my children tell me. Both my son and my daughter, both Ashton and Ava, tell me now, at school, especially among their peers, the culture around them, you have to be either gay or trans. The pressure is immense. So either come out as, homosexual or lesbian or bisexual, even if it's not true. They just want you to come out and say you are. And then you're being, they call it, affirmed. Then they go, yeah, you're cool. You're an it kid. You're part of the crowd. But transgenderism in particular, there is tremendous pressure now over every little thing. Every little thing. If a boy just likes to dance, are you a girl? You sure? Maybe you're a girl. Do you identify as a girl? Girls in particular, let's say they like sports. I don't know, hockey. I'm just going to make something up. Oh, what we consider maybe a tomboy, right? Growing up. Are you a boy? Do you identify as a boy? Maybe you are a boy. Have you thought you're a boy? And so they're the ones, and I'm talking at 7, 8, 9, years old. Never mind now. Ashton's 14, Ava's 12. The pressure's even getting more and more. So they try to put these ideas in your head, and it's a form of brainwashing, indoctrination, the power of suggestion, and conformity. And it's relentless. It doesn't stop. And so what happens is, as John rightly says, you have a son or daughter who, after many years of this constant relentless pressure and indoctrination, starts to become convinced, whatever, you're a boy, you're now a girl, or you're a girl and you're now a boy. And there's massive money involved. There's huge money involved. You see, it's not just an ideological thing. By the way, look at the USAID scandal. They were peddling transgenderism in Cambodia, in Sri Lanka, a transgender comic book in Peru, transgender operas in Colombia, transgenderism all across Africa, all across the Middle East. There is massive money involved in this, and a lot of it here. And by the way, ask yourself, how did we get to this point? No, really. Look, I don't want to sound like one of these guys, back in my day. No, there were problems, obviously. But you went to school, it was reading, writing, and math. Throw in a little history, whatever, phys ed, yes, a little bit of art class. Now, how do we go from that? And I'm not saying there weren't problems, there were problems. But still, how do we go from that to 6, 7-year-olds have sex? Gay pornography to third graders? Telling kids, again, you're a cat. You're a dog. Meow. We're going to put a bowl of milk. Lick the bowl. Trying to convince a 9, 10-year-old girl, no, you really should get yourself shot up on testosterone and take puberty blockers, which will destroy your fertility for the rest of your life. And really maybe just, chop your breasts off and chop your private part off and, get an artificial penis. Sorry to say it, but that's at 12. How did we go from reading, writing, math, civics, history, sciences, whatever, to this? This has no place in the classroom. This has no place to children. I can't believe I even have to say this. And by the way, Trump is right. We're going to talk about it probably tomorrow or on Monday. It's time to get rid of the Department of Education. A lot of this is money tied to the Department of Education in Washington. And notice, since Carter gave us the Department of Education, what was that, late 70s? Okay, that was 45 years ago. We spend the most money in the world per capita on pupils, on students. No country comes close. We spend about $20,000 per student in this country. We ranked 40th on math proficiency, writing proficiency, reading proficiency, literacy proficiency. There's literally an inverse relationship to how much money we spend and to the education results of our kids. It's almost like the more we spend, the dumber our kids get. Kick it back to the States. Demolish the whole building. Get rid of the entire Department of Education. It's been a disaster, an absolute disaster. And they used it exactly as the critics predicted, as a laboratory to experiment on our children. This is all top down, tied with massive amounts of money and funding, our money. And it's doing irreparable damage to many of our children, to the point that, look, you've got them running in front of Worcester City Council saying, we're going to die because we're transgender, give us sanctuary status. That's how much they've been brainwashed. The great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Lisa, speaking of Worcester, I've been waiting all morning for somebody from Worcester to call. Lisa in Worcester, thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Well, I hate to disappoint because I'm actually from next door in Dudley, but I did say Worcester. It's my common answer. People say, where are you from? I say Worcester because of you.
I get it. No worries. Go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
Anyways, so I believe that my point was touched on a lot in the last callers about what they feel in school and education. However, to take it one step further, being in Worcester, if I work at a school in Worcester, does it now become beyond the peer pressure that your child feels to required reading? My second question or comment was if I have a doctor's office in Worcester, because we know a lot of these things are money grabs, can I now advertise in Worcester on 5 and 91 that are Route 90 that I do gender affirming care? Like, how much of the rules get to change just because it's the town?
Well, basically now Worcester is the Wild West when it comes to sex change operations, gender affirming care, whatever you want to call it. Let's say puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones or to children. So they can do billboards. They can encourage doctors to do all kinds of procedures on children. And Worcester is now not going to cooperate with state law or with federal law or with Trump's executive orders. So basically they can experiment on our children. And Worcester is going to deliberately turn a blind eye. This is grotesque. They can peddle it in the schools. They can teach it to the kids in schools. They're going to have to hire transgender teachers. And what I mean by transgender teachers is, dressed in drag, as an example. Police officers, firefighters, local bureaucrats, government bureaucrats, you name it. They want to turn Worcester now into a mecca for the LGBTQ plus community. And I'm not talking San Francisco, say, for gays and lesbians. What they want in particular is for people who are transgendered, who dress in drag, who are so-called non-binary. That's who they want. That's who they're attracting. And that's what you're going to start to see all over Worcester. Now, my prediction, Lisa, you can hold me to this. Once the people of the greater Worcester area, because I know exactly what you mean, I often say Foxborough, but I'm really from Rentham because people know Foxborough more than Rentham. So, and it's a bigger adjoining town. I know Worcester is a city, but I get what you're saying. So you'll say Worcester even though you live in a town nearby. But once people in the greater Worcester area start to see what this means in their day-to-day lives, for them, their families, and especially their children, you are going to see a massive revolt. You're going to see the mother of all revolts. And what's going to shock you is that Maura Healey's not going to lift a finger, and that the Democrats in the state legislature are not going to lift a finger, and that Channel 4 and Channel 5 and Channel 7 and Channel 10 and Channel 25 and the Boston Globe and the losers at the Boston Herald, the rhinos, are going to paint people like you and parents like you as a bunch of transphobic bigots and monsters. So, but you're going to win. If you guys decide to fight this, you're going to win. But you're going to be Jeff Kuhner for a while. You're not going to recognize yourself because that's what they're going to turn you into. And they're already trying to claim this is a big victory for civil rights. This is a real blow against Trump. This is a blow against fascism and Nazism. And they have no idea the damage that they're doing. I'm going to tell you right now, trans suicide rates are going to go through the roof. Okay, right through the roof. You're going to see, I think, more violence committed by people in the trans community against others. And I think you're going to see a lot of children become the victim of activist parents who are going to do all kinds of ungodly, horrific experiments on their children. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. They're going to get puberty blockers. They're going to get cross-sex hormones. They're going to have them do this crazy, barbaric surgery, reassignment, or sex change operations on them. It's going to be something that in 20, 25 years, people are going to look back with absolute horror that we allowed to happen in Worcester and in our country. Final word to you, Lisa.
I heard that I can get property in San Antonio for $250,000 because Mass ain't working no more. Massachusetts is not working anymore.
No, it's not. We're becoming Lisa, we are the California of the East Coast. And by the way, the numbers are the same. People are leaving Massachusetts in almost the same numbers as California. It's a huge outflow of people. We're now as crazy as California, and we drive the national debate like California does. So there's no fixing Massachusetts. Not with the Republican leadership that we have in this state. Not with the Republican the Republican State Committee. And Amy Carnevale, that's that fraud, that rhino fraud, as the chair of the Republican State Committee here. No, Lisa, forget it. Forget it. So it's going to be up to the parents at the local level if you want to take back your schools and take back your city, but it's going to be up to people like you, Lisa. Worcester needs culture warriors, and they need culture warriors now. Lisa, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. But no, make no mistake about it. Massachusetts is the California of the East Coast. And Worcester is trying to become now the San Francisco of Massachusetts. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. All right, Rob on Messenger, and many of you, frankly, on the text line. And you can text us 70470, 70470. Rob as well on Messenger. Jeff, could you just briefly talk about what this is going to do to property values in Worcester and in the greater Worcester area? Well, let me just, put it bluntly. If the city of Worcester doesn't turn this thing around quick, I rescind this resolution ASAP. What do you think? Here, I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Property values are going to drop like a stone. Why? Because the city is going to become a magnet, a mecca, for the most radical transgender activists and people you can find. Not just across Massachusetts. Remember now, this is the first sanctuary city in the whole country for so-called transgendered people and non-binary people. So they're going to come in from New Hampshire, Rhode Island. They're going to come in from everywhere. Vermont. They're going to roll into Worcester. So it's going to become much more of a problem, which means normal people, law-abiding normal people, are going to want to leave, which means they're going to start putting their house up on the market. And what do you think that's going to do? The more houses up for sale, prices go down. And then as prices, and by the way, it's going to decimate the tax base. Who's going to want to live in Worcester? And deal with these people on a daily basis as they keep escalating their demands? Remember, they're convinced already that they're being hunted down and murdered. Already, that's what their start. The whole premise starts from people are on the street trying to kill us. It only gets worse from there. So, no, let me be brutally honest with you. If I was living in Worcester right now, I would be leading the charge at City Council to get this resolution overturned. And if I couldn't get it overturned because there was too much apathy among the people living in Worcester, my house is up for sale and I'm out of there. With my two kids, and they're going to be exposed to this in the parks, in school, at the library, drag time story hour. I'm getting the hell out of there. If I don't turn it around quick, if I can't see a quick victory, and instead I got a long slog with Healy and the court system and these idiots on the city council, I'm like, hey, I'm not playing around with my kids. And I work too hard to build up my house and have a decent, property value. That's my investment. That's our nest egg. Everything is in that house. So for the sake of my children, my family, frankly, our economic well-being, for sale, and I'm out. 617, just my honest opinion, 617-266-6868. Mark in Connecticut. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
That was perfect timing to take my call. Think about it. I'm going to relocate a business. I look at Worcester. Now, Worcester's already got gang problems. You got the Massachusetts craziness with the prices and stuff and everything, and now this. And not only that, if I have a business in Worcester, I don't have to stay. I mean, it's tough to relocate, but in some situations, it would be, you know, more profitable to relocate because people are going to be leaving Worcester. I mean, and really, like what I first said, are you going to move your business there? Of course not. You're going to stay. You're going to go out to like Pittsfield, or you know, somewhere you know in the western Massachusetts. I think Eastern Mass is crazy.
Mark, I'm just curious, and if I'm getting too personal, please tell me. When you saw this story, and it's huge, it's national, it's, as I said, it's global now. It's gone everywhere. What surprised you the most? That Worcester did it? That they caved so quickly? That there's such little resistance and so much apathy in Worcester? That this transgender mafia feels so emboldened now that they've essentially taken over a city? What surprised you the most about all of this?
What surprised me the most is there wasn't any other people there to stand up and knock this craziness off. Look, the politicians in Massachusetts, I mean, you know, I'm from Connecticut, they're nuts too. I mean, you know, we have a Rose, what's her name there? I forget her name, but she has blue hair and big wild glasses and stuff, and she's a nut job. So I can't say nothing about your politicians, but this whole area, these people are crazy. It's not that they would cave like that. It's like the people would put up with this nonsense.
Mark, I agree. That to me is what I found shocking. If you have time, right, not just you, Mark, the whole audience, it's a 3-hour public comment session. You don't have to go through the whole 3 hours. But just, there's clips out there. You'll see what I mean. It's one after another after another. One lunatic, one trans lunatic, the one is crazier than the next. And I'm like, where are the normal people? Where are the people pushing back against this? Nobody pushed back. Or very few people, to be more accurate. A few did, but for the most part, very few people pushed back. I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's your city. I don't know what else to say. Mark, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Amanda in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Amanda, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Just listening to what John had to say really just kind of resonated with me, and I just wanted to share a quick story with you. So I was raised by a single mother in New Hampshire, and my best friend was also raised by a single mom. And our moms kind of teamed up and pretty much raised us together. Like, we were always over each other's houses, and we were basically raised the same way. One exception is I was raised in a very God-fearing household. So I was in church every Sunday, where my best friend was not. But my best friend was always smarter than me in school. She did a lot better. She studied really hard. She worked 2-3 jobs. And, you know, we were raised to kind of have a great work ethic and help. And she went away to this big university in New York where her mom had saved up and invested wisely and whatnot and spent over $100,000 on this education for her. And to even put her in the category of lazy would never even cross my mind. And she graduated from this university in 2010. I think we graduated, and now she drives for Lyft part-time, and she walks a dog, Noodles, and she lives in an RV in by like Virginia Beach, in like a very Democrat area of Virginia. And you would never think that that would ever happen. And her mom and I are very close, and we talk all the time, and it happened at the colleges and universities. And now, as a parent myself, I don't know what I would do, you know, to my children. I mean, I never thought, she now identifies as non-binary, and apparently she's pansexual. I have no idea what that even is. Neither does her mother, but it's like, it's never enough. Like, there's always something else. Every time you would talk with her on the phone or something, it would be different. These people just want more, or you're not accepting them, because of X, Y, and Z, and it just makes no sense, to the point where they'll just cut you out of their lives. And it's so sad, and I think that's probably why you see the suicide rate as high as it is among, the trans community, is because they get to a point where it's never enough, it's never enough, it's never enough, and maybe they are too embarrassed or think that they can't, go back to their family that, obviously loves them, but it's like they've just allowed themselves to get too far gone, and, the schools and the universities just let it happen.
Well, she was captured. I mean, Amanda, in a nutshell, look, the universities now are basically cultural Marxist indoctrination camps. And once they get a hold of your mind, they get a hold of your soul. And that's what happened to your friend. They captured your friend and they destroyed your friend. And I'm going to be very honest with you, Amanda. I have 2 children, as you know. I don't want them to go to university. I mean, if they want to go, I'll pay for it. But I'm not sending them to a liberal university. They're going to have to go to a conservative university. And I'm going to go with them on campus. And I'm going to check out the administration, check out the faculty. And I'm not going to have my kids. I'm not sending my kids to one of these crazy woke universities. Because once that woke virus gets you, it gets you. So I've told my kids, either get a trade, go to a trade school, get a real skill, or if you insist on going to university, it's got to be a conservative university. Period. That's it. There's no discussion. Your child is not worth nothing is worth losing your child to the radical, insane left. Because once you've lost them, in many cases, they're gone. You never get them back. Oh, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Catherine in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Catherine, and welcome.
Hi, I'm in my car. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you, Catherine. Go ahead.
Oh, great. My grandfather was born and raised in Worcester, and I remember in the 90s, just before he died, he was talking about what he had seen on the Oprah Winfrey Show, some of the subject matter, and it was pretty bad stuff. And he said, I'm glad I'm going to die soon. And watching what happened in Worcester the other night, I thought of my grandfather, and I thought he'd probably say, I'm glad I'm dead. And he'd probably go so far as to say, why did I fight in World War II? What was that all about? For my grandkids to have to put up with this kind of stuff, I think he'd be aghast. I think he'd be so sad. He's rolling his grave.
Catherine, I'm just curious. Do you think the people, I know you're in New Hampshire, but you think the people of Massachusetts are ultimately going to put up with this? You think the people of Worcester are going to put up with this?
So, well, I grew up in Massachusetts, and I left because, in part, I felt like a fish out of water. I was in my early 20s when I left. Yeah, they do. They do put up with it. You got the governor of Massachusetts bragging on X that that Massachusetts has got some #1 ranking of some sort. I don't know, but it's the #1 ranking for people moving out of the state. The people that don't put up with it leave. The people that don't like it leave. Everyone else is, that's what you get left.
Hey, look, Catherine, I live in Massachusetts, and they're making it awfully hard for me. My kids love it here. My wife loves it here. And Ashley and I have very good friends here. They love their school. They love their teachers. Grace has a really nice community of friends. They don't want to go, but it's almost like they're pushing me out. Really, Catherine. And not just me, a lot of us. And they're going to regret once we're gone, because we're the backbone of this state. And but they're doing their best. They're turning this whole state into a madhouse. And that's what you're seeing in Worcester. And once you start going down this road, it's very hard to go back. Catherine, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Marcelo in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Marcelo, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Marcelo?
Good. I have been living in Worcester for the past 18 years, and I can tell you one thing, my friend. Strange things are really happening here, lately. And the other day I was driving by, Main Street in Worcester, and probably, 2-3 months ago, and I saw a Palestinian flag up on a pole flying, and I was like, really? What's going on here? And now this morning, when I turn on the radio, I, listen to your show, and I heard all this BS that is going on. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe, Jeff. We got to do something to take these people out of, Worcester. It's crazy.
Marcelo, I'm willing to lead a rally. If the people of Worcester really want to change things and get this resolution rescinded, and people are willing to show up right in front of the city council, right outside, I am more than willing to speak, and I'm more than willing to lead a rally. Because I don't want to see Worcester go down. Because I know a lot of people like you. We have a lot of listeners in Worcester. You're not just you, Marcelo, many others. And they're good, decent, like you, hardworking people, love their state, love their city, love their family, love their country. And all of you deserve better than this. And you're right, Marcelo. I don't know what's going on in Worcester, but you're right. Something is going on, and we've got to stop it before it's too late.
Please do it. You got my number there. I will get involved with you, have a bunch of friends. I think we really should do it, we can't let it happen, anymore. It's just, it's crazy.
I agree.
We got to stop it.
I agree. Marcelo, thank you very much for your courage, and thank you for your call. Again, it's up to the people of Worcester. You want me, you know where you can reach me, but you've got to take the initiative. So pick a date, pick a time, make sure people are willing to show up. And the Kuhner Man, I will headline it. I will speak. I will do everything I can to mobilize as much public opinion and pressure to overturn this. And believe me, we will win. There's no question. But it's up to the people of Worcester. It's up to the people of Massachusetts. Mike in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. I appreciate you and all the callers.
Thank you, Mike. I've only got 1 minute. I hate to do this to you, so go, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay, so my daughter, she's 28. 2016, she's in the LGBT community. My wife and I have been kind of just forced into this turmoil. 2016, she comes home from, my mother passed away, her grandmother, and goes to the services. It was during November. We vote. She comes back to the house, says, I voted for Trump. I couldn't vote for Hillary. And I says, good for you. Very good. She goes back to college the next week. She calls up my wife and says, do not tell anybody I voted for Trump. Everybody on campus was hysterically. They had the safe spaces. They were...
Oh, Mike, we're up against it. But no, exactly. Look, these are indoctrination camps. And the fear-mongering about Trump. Yeah, he's gonna kill students. He's gonna kill illegals. He's gonna kill minorities. He's gonna kill trans people. That's the lie that they're peddling. And sadly, people are believing it. Bye-bye.